The Big 12 was wild yet again. Who was the biggest riser? Who was plummeting down? PHNX Sun Devils Big 12 Power Rankings. It's Eric Ruby and Anthony Totri coming to you after week 3 of college football action has wrapped up. And yet again, the Big 12 is full of surprises. Totri, I say we start with where the week started, and that was on Friday night. Two premier Big 12 matchups highlighted the evening. Houston, Colorado, Arizona, Kansas State, starting with Connor Weigman and Houston beaten Colorado 36-20. Houston 3-0 on the season. Colorado 1-2. Houston, man. I mean, a fun start to the season for them.
Willie Fritz is getting frisky, man. September 14th, Houston rolling off 435 total yards of offense. Everybody was saying Connor Weigman can't do this. He can't do that. Well, he's got a home in Houston, and man, he looks like he's starting to heat up a little bit for the Cougs. And then the Buffs on the other side, 20 points. They don't play well at night. I believe Dion was ranting about it the other evening after that loss to Houston. The quarterback situation now back in the limelight for the Buffs after Staub did not look stellar in that 16-point loss.
Yeah, who would have thought? A little different playing a Big 12 team versus the Delaware Fighting Blue Hens. Maybe a little bit different for Colorado, and this is a Colorado team that was ranked at one point last year, and they certainly have a quarterback problem, and they have some talent, but again, now they're under 500 after losing to Georgia Tech in week 1. Then they beat Delaware, and then they lose to Houston. Houston, we have to see if they can maintain it. This is the first real competition they played all year. And if Colorado ends up being a bottom tier team in the Big 12, how much stock can you put into this? It's going to be interesting to see what Houston does going forward. They take on Oregon State, who we'll talk about a little bit later, but then it's Texas Tech, which is going to be an interesting first Big 12 test for them. Also picking up a win on Friday night. It was the battle of the Wildcats, and Arizona came out on top in what was an extraordinarily ugly football game, but not as ugly as the season that Kansas State is having as a whole.
Yeah, 1-3. I feel so bad for Avery Johnson. I mean, like, he's got great hair, but at the end of the day, man, it's not enough to lead this Kansas State offense right now that just is not moving at all. 13 of 29 on the evening. Did not go over 100 yards through the air. No touchdowns, no picks. Normally, Kansas State prides itself on being able to run the football, right? That's what makes Avery Johnson such a weapon in this offense, is because they love to run it. And Avery Johnson also is a very dynamic, talented athlete at quarterback. Jace Brown, their number one wide receiver, was their leading rusher. He did have a touchdown, 1 carry, 75 yards. Other than that, it was 5 carries for 17 yards, Antonio Martin Jr. JB Price, 7 carries, 16 yards. Kansas State could not do anything offensively. You do got to give a little bit of credit to Danny Gonzalez's defense for the Arizona Wildcats. But offensively, if it wasn't for Ishmael Mahdi, a former Texas State Bobcat, that offense didn't really look the part.
Yeah, Avery Johnson, 7 carries for negative 16 yards. So total yards that Avery Johnson accounted for, if you take the 16 out of his passing yards, was 72. 72. And yeah, you do have to give credit to Arizona. They've been better than I think people expected them to be. 3-0 on the season, second season under Brent Brennan. That being said, they beat Hawaii, they beat Weber State, and then they beat a Kansas State that is the single most disappointing team in the Big 12, and they barely did it at home. It will be interesting to see what Arizona does moving forward, just like Houston, 2 undefeated teams that are trying to shake the narratives that were formed last season, but I still don't think have done enough this season to certifiably put them in the good category. Let's keep it rolling in the Big 12 with maybe one of the bigger wins of the weekend, not by score, but by rivalry base. That was West Virginia picking up an overtime win over Pittsburgh. This comes off of West Virginia's terrible loss to Ohio last week, but they get back in the win column with a big one. They always love beating Pitt.
West Virginia, man, this was such a weird game from the start to finish. Like West Virginia at one point, I want to say was up 14-3 in the third quarter. And then you had Pitt storm back, a team that's, middle upper of the pack, I guess, in the ACC. And then you get a great finish that obviously takes you to overtime. And I mean, give credit to West Virginia being able to get it done at home. You really, really needed this one, especially after the embarrassing loss that you suffered the week prior. And overall, it looks like West Virginia has found their guy in Ty Edwards, 25 carries tonight, a $141, and he found the house 3 separate times. Watch out for him in this best running back in the Big 12 conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially in a running back conversation. It's a little bit weaker than last year, but he had a great year last year as well, hit over 1,000 yards, and he's just been extraordinarily effective. And it's a good win for West Virginia, who's now 2-1 on the season, following that disappointing loss last week, but a good win nonetheless. The most singular dominant win and singular dominant performance of the weekend in the Big 12. Probably came against the worst team, but Cincinnati takes down Northwestern State 70-0. The highlight of this one, Totri, is ripped Brendan Sorsby. 15 of 15 for 253 yards and 5 touchdowns in the air. Add another touchdown on the ground. Why not, huh?
He's not Brendan Sorsby anymore. He is Rip Sorsby to me from this moment forward. Like I'm knighting him as Darth Vader went from Anakin. He is that type of guy. At least he was against the Northwestern State Demons. I mean, come on, 6 total touchdowns. The guy couldn't miss, literally 15 of 15 through the air, like you said. Averaged 16.9 yards per completion. Like when he was in the game, Northwestern State did not know what to do. There were no answers. Now we'll see if Brendan Sorsby has a little momentum getting into conference play next week.
And he needed it because he didn't have the best non-con before that. But we'll see if when the competition steps up, kind of like I mentioned a couple other times so far today, can he continue to do that? His ground game has been phenomenal, though, so far this season. Has been a great mobile quarterback. And I do think that what he did to his body over the offseason does directly impact that. Let's just see if that accuracy can maintain. Obviously, you're not going to be able to go 15 of 15 every single week because you're not going to be playing Northwestern State every week. But if he can tune on his accuracy in the passing game, will continue to be a threat on the ground game, then he should be a serviceable quarterback, an above average one for Cincinnati. Speaking of above average quarterbacks, TCU takes down Abilene Christian 42-21 behind Josh Hoover, 21-27 in the air for 337 yards and 4 touchdowns for Hoover.
I mean, we knew this guy could air it out, right? We've been saying all offseason, everyone's been saying, hey, who is the wild card at quarterback in this conference? You got your Baylor, you got your Sawyer Robertsons, you got your Sam Levitts, you've got your what we thought was Avery Johnson. But where's the wild card in here, right? Who's the Joker? And this is him right here. The Joker is Josh Hoover in this conference. He is like slowly putting together a phenomenal season. Again, just 2 games, and this TCU offense is firing on all cylinders. Watch out for the Horned Frogs, especially when it comes to airing it out.
Yeah, 2-0 for TCU after a week off. They beat the brakes off of North Carolina, beat the brakes off of Abilene Christian. That offense, man, extremely, extremely potent, much like spicy. Baylor's offense as well. Go ahead.
I said it's spicy.
It is. Absolutely a spicy offense, kind of like Baylor's offense. Obviously, they played, again, a weak team. We're in non-con, and we're saying it every other game, but Baylor beats Samford. Did you see? So Samford scored 7 points. They lost 42-7. Did you see the play that they scored on? Or at least they got right close to the end zone on?
I didn't know.
It was the most lofty duck pass in the air ever. Like it's literally
I did see that. I did see that play.
Like you were a kid and you threw it up there like 500 dead or alive. Like it was that.
And he caught it though. He caught it.
He caught it. But it wasn't enough for Samford, losing to Baylor 42-7. Sawyer Robertson doing Sawyer Robertson things, 3 touchdowns in the air, but he threw it 37 times. This is a guy who's going to throw the most passes in the Big 12, 23-37 for 211 yards, just taking care of business for Baylor.
It's been the thing that you can rely on so far in this conference this season is that Sawyer Robertson is going to air it out. And when he does, he's going to take some chances. Again, 3 touchdowns. He did have 2 INTs, but overall wasn't much of a concern for Dave Aranda's Bears. They got the job done 42-7. Don't sleep on what they can do on the ground. Bryson Washington, a true sophomore running back for Baylor, 21 totes, 135 yards, and 2 touchdowns on the ground. The mass exodus of Big 12 running backs to the NFL, Rubis, looks like it has been replenished maybe tenfold.
Yeah, definitely. And we talk about this conference as a whole, and then we lead most of these games talking about the quarterbacks, not trying to discount the rushing game, but the quarterbacks certainly are what's driving this team or these teams in this conference. And that's no different than with number 21 Texas Tech beating Oregon State 45-14 at home. Baron Morton with 464 yards, 4 touchdowns, 23 of 35. A delay was not enough to delay the inevitable, and Oregon State falls to Texas Tech.
The Red Raiders are such a tease. 599 yards of offense. Come on, we couldn't get this one more yard of offense. 30 first downs. Look, they absolutely beat the brakes off the Beavs. I don't know if there's a fan base I feel more sorry for as the weeks continue to pass since the Pac-12 broke up more than the Oregon State Beavers. It's just, you got to feel for that fan base. But again, Texas Tech doing what they should do, especially after all the offseason hype. They have lived up to the expectations at this point. Again, a 45-14 win. An interesting stat to maybe keep your eye on as the Big 12 season actually does begin now. Texas Tech, 10 penalties tonight, 80 yards, still obviously getting the job done, but something that you definitely don't want to show up when the conference opponents start to roll around. 2 turnovers also for that Texas Tech offense.
It's a problem they can't throw money at, is the penalties.
No, that's true.
I will say, I think
teams have tried.
Definitely. I think out of all the teams, and I'd have to go and look at everybody's slate, but I think Texas Tech has probably played the weakest slate going into conference play. I think it's.
I don't think Red Raider fans are gonna like that so much, man.
Oh no, but I mean, Baylor's played some serious competition. West Virginia's played, at least a Power 4 team in Pitt. Cincinnati played Nebraska. TCU played UNC. It was not great, but still a Power 4 team. Maybe you could throw Utah in there. I think Utah is definitely in the conversation, but everybody else is at least, a decent win on their plate. And Texas Tech, and don't get me wrong, Texas Tech has dominated. They've dominated. They've done exactly what they've needed to do in these games. So it's not like you can hold anything against them. You play who you can play. The kids didn't schedule this game, but they played Arkansas Pine Bluff, and then they played, I don't even remember who before that. And then they played Oregon State, who's just in a bad place as a program, and 0-3 on the season. But nonetheless, extremely talented team in Texas Tech, and definitely a contender to win the Big 12. Another contender to win the Big 12, bouncing back this season, is number 20, Utah. They took care of business, led by Devin Dampier against Wyoming, 31-6.
Man, I mean, every time I see a Wyoming game, and maybe it's just I don't see them that often, I got to imagine that fan base was just so over the moon about Josh Allen, right? Because it seems like every week they're getting their just absolute breaks kicked off, dude. Like, it's tough. Devin Dampier this week, 27 of 41, 2 touchdowns. Also was Utah's leading rusher with 86 yards on the ground, something that you've come to expect. Devin Dampier is the gold standard for dual threat quarterback, not just in this conference, but in college football. You don't believe me? Turn on the tape and also see what he did last season. He is just as dangerous through the air. And I think that's something that was a question for him going into the season from a lot of folks, was you knew you could see it on the ground. You knew that when they lined up, if things got sticky, Devin Dampier was going to run the football. He showed you through 3 games so far in non-con that he's a threat to air it out to.
Yeah, Utah likely to move up from number 20 in the country with a 3-0 start. Interesting enough. Guess who they start Big 12 play against? It is number 21, Texas Tech, next week. By far and away, the premier game in the Big 12 in week 1
We're
of
here,
conference
baby.
play.
We're here.
I mean,
Conference play.
That's gonna be a true test for both of those teams, because I would say they probably have had the 2 weakest non-con schedules, and now they're gonna play a top 25 ranked team in each other this weekend. Maybe the most surprising game, not necessarily by outcome, but by final score, is the Iowa State Cyclones. They do advance to 4-0, the number 14 Cyclones, but they escape with a 24-16 win against Arkansas State, by the way, playing on the road against Arkansas State, the highest ranked opponent. Sorry?
In Jonesboro, Arkansas, man. Yeah, the number 14 team in the country coming to town. No, I cannot say that I have ever graced Jonesboro, Arkansas with my presence. I cannot say that, no.
Well, I feel like, you would be lucky to go to Jonesboro. Okay.
Maybe.
So let's not get
maybe one day.
But maybe Iowa State doesn't want to go back,
man.
Maybe Iowa State doesn't want to go back, though. Not a convincing victory for the number 14 team in the country. Rocco backed 14-25 for 265 yards and a touchdown in the air, but he also threw an interception. Carson Hansen, though, on the ground, 116 yards on 18 carries. He has been very good for them. And Iowa State gets the job done like they should, and Arkansas State obviously got up for a big game, but walked away losers.
Yeah, Iowa State, at the end of the day, a win's a win. That's what they're telling themselves. They're 4-0 now going into conference play. Say what you want. This team has been consistent when it matters, and that is just the end of ball games, putting the opposition away. They continue to do it. They do it in blowouts. They show you now they can do it in a close game. I know it's Arkansas State. Doesn't mean a whole lot to the fan base. Doesn't get a lot of national respect. But this team wins football games, and Rocco Becht continues to be the reason why. 265 yards through the air and a touchdown.
Yeah, Rocco Becht, I believe, is in competition to be the best quarterback in the Big 12. I think he's an NFL quarterback. I like what Iowa State's doing a lot. Matt Campbell continues to do solid work over there. But the team that beat Iowa State in the Big 12 championship finally felt like that team again in week 3 of the season. It is the Arizona State Sun Devils putting away Texas State back at home, 34-15. Sam Levitt had some highlight plays. Jordyn Tyson was number 2 in the SportsCenter top 10, but it was also Raleek Brown, 12 carries for 144 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Anthony Totri finally saw the Arizona State Sun Devils that were ranked number 11 in the country just a couple of weeks ago.
We talked about all the teams that are ranked right now in this conference. Iowa State at number 14, likely to go up. We got Utah in the 20s. You have Texas Tech in the 20s. Maybe one day we'll see Baylor, TCU in the 20s. But the team that started the year ranked number 11, the 11th best team in the country, that had some folks saying, hey, that's too low for the Arizona State Sun Devils. You missed it in week 1. You missed it in week 2. Where's this team with all this talent we've been hearing? And it finally broke out tonight against Texas State. A big win, which, again, I think you and I agree, the score doesn't necessarily reflect what you saw between Arizona State and Texas State. Triplets were born in Tempe. Congratulations on Sam Levitt, Jordyn Tyson, and Raleek Brown, the youngest of the twins, now a $144 on the ground.
Yes, still some to get better. Like, this is not the peak of this team, but it did finally feel like the team that a lot of people expected to see, likely, if not guaranteed, to have a number next to their name when the AP Top 25 goes out, considering that they were 26th in the country after last week.
We'll see, man. Georgia Tech is they're banging on the door for a number 2 now, and I don't know how many of those 24, 25, 20s lost this week.
I don't know. We'll see if I don't know what they're gonna do with Clemson, man. Because
Clemson should not be ranked, man.
They're under 500.
Clemson should not be ranked.
So it'll be interesting to see what goes on with Arizona State. If you want more on that game, we did an entire hour-plus long post-game show that is live on our channel right now. And, of course, that you can follow along during the week. We do live shows 4 days during the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday at 1, and then Friday at noon. That's all Arizona time. And then a pregame 30 minutes before kickoff and a post-game show right after the end of the game every single weekend. And of course, you can like this video to help us out. It's free. You can sub to the channel to help us out. It's free. You can rate us 5 stars on audio to help us out. It's free. You can become a member today. Spam some fresh new emojis in the chat. And you can follow the show at PHNX_Sun Devils. That's on Twitter. That's on Instagram. You can follow the man to my side right there at Anthony_Totri. You can follow me at ERIKRUBY. We will see you again for another Big 12 recap after the first week of conference play.